Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel called Living in Hayward, Wisconsin, where we talk about all things real estate related and also just about living in Hayward and what that's like. I'm Audrey Miller. I'm your local real estate expert based right out of Hayward. Our office is on Main Street, and I am the broker owner of Northwest Wisconsin Realty Team. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a market update. We're at the halfway point of 2024. I hear lots of things from buyers and sellers about what they perceive the market to be doing, and I'm going to tell you kind of what I'm experiencing as a full-time real estate agent and a working broker, and kind of give you some statistics and my insight on the market and market updates specifically for Sawyer County and the Hayward area. So you're welcome to follow along, and I hope you learned something valuable from watching this video. So as I always say, if you like the content of this channel, this Living in Hayward real estate and Living in Hayward information, feel free to subscribe, like, share my channel, comment below, reach out to me directly via my contact information here at the bottom of the screen. If you have questions about buying or selling a property, general real estate questions, I am happy to help with any of that. So as promised, today we're going to talk about a market update for 2024 year to date. We are at the 6-month mark, so I've gathered the data for the first 6 months of 2024. I'm recording this video in mid-July of 2024, but this data is going to focus on the first half of the year. And then I'm going to talk about some things that I hear from buyers and sellers on an ongoing basis, kind of perceptions of the public versus reality. These are all things that I'm going to address. So hopefully this is helpful for you, whether you're looking to buy or sell, to get a little market update on Sawyer County and the Hayward area. I'm going to focus specifically on Sawyer County today. I decided to just use data from Sawyer County. Washburn very similarly mirrors Sawyer County. So the two counties are not much different in market trends, average sale prices, and all of that. And Hayward is solidly within Sawyer County. Sawyer County goes the whole way over to Winter, Ojibwa, and then down towards Stone Lake and over towards Springbrook area and north up to about Sealy. So those are kind of some of the boundaries of the Sawyer County area. So in 2024, the number of residential homes that have sold in our MLS, there's a few that have sold outside of our MLS, but this is based on the information in the Realtors Association of Northwest Wisconsin, of which I am a member. It was 134 homes that sold in the first 6 months of 2024. So we are seeing a slight increase in inventory and also in number of home sales. My theory on this is that a lot of people were hanging on to their houses thinking they didn't want to move, upsize, downsize, because they didn't want to trade their low interest rate for a higher interest rate. But as time went on and the interest rates stayed as they were, people decided, well, we're going to have to move now. We need to move for other reasons. We're just going to bite the bullet. And if we sell something that we were in a 3% interest rate and switch to 6.5 or 7, so be it. You know, people often ask me, why is the seller selling when I'm going out looking at properties? And the answer to that is it was the right time for them to sell. And that is often the reason that somebody sells, despite market conditions, interest rates, any of that. Sometimes, and most often, it is just the right time for the seller to sell. I'm not saying it doesn't influence their decisions, but people just reach a point where they want to move on to whatever is next for them. So last year in the same time period, in 2023, there were 116 residential homes in Sawyer County that sold within our MLS. So that is about a 15% increase in the number of properties that sold. And additionally, the inventory has increased. I'm not able to pull last year's inventory numbers because once something is sold, it goes out of the inventory counts. And so you can't do a comparison very easily in the data that I have access to in the MLS. But I can tell you that at the moment, there are 141 properties that are for sale, residential properties in Sawyer County. And of those, 44 of them are under contract. So about a third, a little more than a third, are under contract, probably closer to 40% are under contract, but the total is 141. What I can tell you just from experience and market knowledge is that this number of available houses to buy is higher than it was a year ago. So as I said, more people are selling. We're seeing a little more inventory come into the market, which is good news for buyers. They have a little bit more to choose from, and it still is a very low inventory. So definitely still a seller's market versus a buyer's market, because there is not enough of inventory. You know, people will be looking for a specific type of property or on a specific lake, and they'll often only have a few properties to choose from. So that number of 141, first of all, 44 of those are under contract. Secondly, some are on water, some are off water, some are in town, some are on bigger lakes, smaller lakes. So let's say you're looking on a smaller lake and you're wanting to spend $400,000 to $500,000. There may only be a total of 6 or 8 properties to choose from. So still not a big inventory, but we do have a little more inventory than we had a year ago and a few more places selling as a result of that. So I think that's a good trend for buyers because it's been really tough to even find anything that was available for sale in the last couple of years. However, this does not mean that you don't need to act quickly. I think there may be a perception perception out there, because I hear it a lot from buyers, that, oh, has the market slowed because of interest rates or because of house prices? The market has really not slowed much at all. I am on pace this year to do the same amount of business as I did last year, which is more than I did in 2022. Some of that is my own personal growth as a real estate agent, but also the market is still very strong. Things are coming on the market and things are selling. I think that the interest rates have decreased the buyer pool quantity. So we did have a couple of years ago way too many buyers for the number of sellers. That's become slightly more balanced, but definitely still more buyers than sellers, especially for a desirable property that is appropriately priced, which kind of leads me to my next point. People say to me a lot, I see a lot of price decreases happening. Does that mean that the market is going south? No, it does not. I am in this market every single day. Places are selling, often still with multiple offers, often within a few days. The reason that a seller's property is most likely not selling is that it is overpriced for the actual value. So perception of actual value versus the list price. And part of what happens is, this has happened to me many times. I go sit down with the seller and I show them the comparable property information. It's pretty easy to do right now because the market has stayed relatively steady in terms of price. So I'll go talk to them, I'll give them the comps, but the seller wants to price it higher. Every seller wants to get the most that they can, but when you price outside of the comps and you are above the price of your competition or above what it might appraise for, chances are that it's going to sit, it's not going to sell, and you're going to end up doing price reductions. So my perception of the reason for the price reductions you're seeing actually has more to do with sellers being overly aggressive with their initial list price than it does with a market change. However, the data shows that in 2024, the average sale price for a residential property in Sawyer County was $382,600 average sale price. That includes on and off water. Last year, for the same time frame of the first 6 months, it was $402,300. So there is an adjustment of between 5 and 6% year over year within Sawyer County. However, the days on market has actually decreased a little bit from last year. Last year in 2023, it was 100 days on market. This year, it's an average of 94. And last year, the percent of list versus sale was 97.9, and this year it's 98%. So as you can see, there's been a very, very slight price adjustment average year over year, 5 to 6%. So not a huge amount at all. And like I said, if sellers were pricing their properties appropriately based on the comparable property information and likely the advice of their agent, if they're hiring an experienced agent, we would not be seeing all these price drops. This is by no means a slow market. I cannot tell you how many times in the last little while that I have put an offer in on a place, somebody else offered, and we didn't end up getting it. Or I was the first offer, next thing I know, there's another offer the next day. I have been the listing agent where there's multiple offers on the property recently. If we rewind back to 2018, 2019, multiple offers were very uncommon. We were in a more balanced market then. We were still coming out of the long time frame after the 2008 crash to where we came back to a more fast-moving market. But if we had a multiple offer back then, it was like the talk of the town, among our agency, or even for myself, like, oh my gosh, we had 2 offers. What do we do with this? Now it continues to still be common. So there's this buyer perception out there that, and quote unquote, the market is going to crash. I can tell you, I hear this multiple times a week. I have no crystal ball, and maybe it is true, but I do not see signs of that. To me, it's very simple: supply and demand. When there's more demand than supply, then you're going to have continued sales, you're going to have continued interest, and you're going to have a continued seller's market. We are not in a balanced market right now. They consider a balanced market to be 6 months of supply, and I think we're around 3 or 3.5 months. Thankfully, that has inched up a little bit from the 2 to 2.5 months supply we had, a year and a half ago, but we are still nowhere near a balanced market. So this is some insight and information for you, and these things that I hear as I go about my daily work being with buyers and sellers. It is my belief that real estate is always a good investment. Is the market a little bit slower than it was a year and a half ago? Yes, but we're talking minimal difference. As you can see, the days on market has actually decreased from a year ago. The prices are only 5 to 6% different, and there's slightly more inventory. So to me, it is a very slight adjustment that may or may not continue. Real estate does always tend to be in a cycle, but I don't think that this area in particular is going to be experiencing a crash, nor do I think that it's going to continue to incline in price. I think we're going to see a slight decline. Now, I might see this video 6 months from now and realize I was entirely wrong. So I am just giving my best guess, but my information is based on a supply and demand dynamic and the desirability of the rural areas as the cities have become places that a lot of people are less inclined to live, and as remote work has become more of an option, and we have really great internet options now in our area with the Starlink that is available. So we see more people kind of migrating to these rural areas, and that's kept our market really strong. I personally am glad to see a few more properties come on the market. I'm good with it if it's taking just a few more days to sell. Instead of going under contract in 3 days, maybe it takes 10. That gives buyers a little more time to get here in certain cases and keeps it maybe slightly less competitive competitive because buyers have been kind of taking a beating for a while, and I'm happy to see if they get a little more chance. But if you are a buyer thinking that you're going to sit back and watch a property and you're going to wait, you are more than likely going to miss out on it. Things are still selling quite quickly, as you can see from the days on market data, because that's from the time it listed till the time it closed is 94-day average for this year to date. So I know my last couple videos have been very data heavy, but I wanted to provide this market update and give people an idea of what's going on in our market here in Sawyer County, boots on the ground. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit more about something not so highly statistical. So if you've enjoyed these numbers and this information, that's awesome. If you haven't, you could always skip these videos and wait for another subject to come up. But I did want to provide this 2024 market update for everybody who has these questions and kind of address some of the questions that I get on a weekly basis from buyers and sellers. As always, feel free to reach out to me, follow along, like, share, or subscribe to my channel. And I'm Audrey Miller, and thank you for being with me today.